Hey besties, it's Nat back again with another Animal Crossing speed build and another episode of Beach Decorating 101, the series where I attempt to decorate my beaches and then I attempt to explain to you what I did. Today, we are on the stunning and gorgeous front beach of my island. It's right next to my resident services and my airport. It's next to Kiki's house, Coco's house, the museum, and I want it to be like a public beach area for my New England themed island. So, picture lots of sand dunes, lots of driftwood, some places for people to hang out. I have some items over there on the left that I'm going to explain to you what I'm going to do with them, and then we're going to jump right into the build. So grab a snack, get comfortable, get something to drink, and let's get into it. All right, starting off, we have our essential town core items. These are going to help us transition from the town to the beach because this is a public beach. We have the utility pole and the trash can, very important. The white fence, that's going to be important for creating some separation. And most importantly, the key item of this build is the wooden storage shed, which we are going to be using to make a changing room. There are some people who've done this on Instagram. I'll try to put some links, some fabulous creators who have come up with this. There's some other alternative items as well. If you don't want to use the changing room, you could use the portable toilet. You could also use the changing room that the game provides you that your character can actually change in. And we're also going to use the drinks machine in the build as well. Here are some smaller items. We have my codes that I'm going to use. We have my classic, my bird code, my rope code, my wooden plank code, and my water code. All of those codes are going to help us to fill out the beach area once we've placed down the bigger objects like the umbrella chair that we have over on the right, which I'm very excited to use for the first time. It's a really fun object. We have some classic beach objects. We also have our lovely seaweed, which we got out of the sea, very disgusting. And for some reason, I'm very stupid and forgot to include the all-important wheat field and log stakes. The wheat field and the log stakes are key objects for making a sand dune and creating the illusion of like seagrass and driftwood. So those are the objects we're going to use for the build. And now we can finally jump into the speed build portion. Hey besties, it's speed build voiceover Nat, and this speed build is going to be a little bit unorthodox. You may have noticed it's kind of short for one of my speed builds, especially for an outdoor one. Normally with the outdoor speed builds, I'm sort of messing around with things. It takes me a long time to get things exactly how I want. But this build is not like that because I may or may not have done the majority of the build off camera and then went back and redid it on camera afterwards. Now that's normally not how I like to do things because I like to show you my messy process to sort of get you into my twisted little mind, what's going on in there when I'm building. But this was not my choice. I did not choose to be in this situation where you're seeing the aftermath of my messy process instead of the live messy process. But we'll get into that in just a minute. Right now, I'm going to do a quick rundown of the plan for this beach. Like I said during the beginning, I have a New England themed island. It's based off of the island that I grew up on, and there are a lot of public beaches on that island. And so this is sort of based off of that. We have the wheat field object acting as our sand dune. We also have the fences to separate the beach from the road. And then right behind the fence is the wooden storage shed acting as the changing room. And like I said, I saw this on Instagram and I really loved how rustic it looked compared to the in-game changing room, especially this colorway with like the blue roof. I think it works really well for a beach, especially for like an old New Englandy. It's giving very much giving Jaws, giving Amity. But that's going to be the anchor for the space. You're going to see it come together a little bit later, but right now I'm going to explain to you why this build was late and why I was forced to do it off camera against my will. Now, I was minding my business, working on the build. I was procrastinating a little bit, besties. I will admit I was procrastinating. I was supposed to be done with it at a different time, and I was not done with it, but I had time to finish it. I was going to get it out on Wednesday. I was minding my business, working on the build, and then in a couple of seconds, while I go to put down this code, the worst thing in the world happens to me, and the bug arrives. Like I said, I was minding my business, working on the build, and all of a sudden I hear a noise in the trash can next to my desk, and the biggest bug I've ever seen is just sitting there chilling on top of a can. He was a water bug, and for those of you who don't know, a water bug is like an outside roach. I'm not going to show you a picture, don't worry, but he's big, okay? He's like 2 inches long and maybe like half an inch to an inch thick. He's a big boy, and he was in my room, and I have no idea how he got there because I live on the 3rd story of a building and all of my windows were closed. But needless to say, I had a standoff with my vacuum with this man for an hour, and it ended with me losing the standoff when I attempted to suck him up, and he ran behind my bed and disappeared. When I tell you this man disappeared, he was gone. He was gone. I pulled the bed back immediately. He was gone. So needless to say, I slept on my couch. I put a little towel under my bedroom door to try and trap him in there, even though I had no idea if he was in there to begin with. And that is why I did the build off camera, because I couldn't get to my computer, which was in my bedroom. So I sat on the couch and I did the build on my little Switch in portable mode, and it turned out really, really good. And I was like, I felt way more confident once I had done it off camera and had sorted everything out. So yeah, that is why the build is late. That's why I did it off camera, and you're gonna see the fruits of my labor from when I was trapped on my couch because the bug was holding me hostage. So I hope you enjoyed that story. Now let's get back into the build. All right, here we are, besties, post-bug. As you can see, I've left the codes and the flowers. Everything else, though, I tore down so you can see my process of me rebuilding it. I'm really pleased with how it came out. Like I said, here are the codes that I have and the flowers that I have, and it's going to sort of show you the shape of the sand dune as well as the separation of the different areas. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but there ended up being sort of like 4 areas to the build. So we have the area next to the road with the changing rooms and the little water spout, which I added, which I think it looks super cute. You know, wash your shoes, wash your feet, or whatever. We have the area on the left, which has like a little picnic spot, and then even further left, there's a fishing spot for Kiki, because for those of you who don't know, Kiki owns a seafood restaurant, and I'm gonna change the outside of her restaurant a little bit, but we'll do that later. That's for another day. But right now, I'm working on rebuilding the sand dune. On the right of the changing area, there's going to be the more formal beach area with those big umbrella chairs. Absolutely obsessed with those. I got to pick out some really fun colors, some really bright colors. This build that turned out being really, really colorful. I don't know if it's because of the blue hyacinths or the chairs or what it was, but I had a lot of fun experimenting with color in this build, and I really hope you enjoy it, because color is always a bit of a difficult thing for me. I do gravitate towards some very specific colors, and I did do that in this build, but I think that it's more vibrant than normal, so I'm proud of myself for that. As you can see, I placed down that wild log bench to create a little separation. Like I said, we're creating a shape for the sand dune. We want it to look natural because the wheat fields are boxy, and in order to make them look natural, you can like stagnate them and separate them with other objects like the log stakes or that wild log bench. I cannot talk. That's a hard word to say fast though. Okay, you gotta cut me some slack, give me some credit. But yes, we have the wild log bench and these log stakes to look like driftwood. I like them in that colorway too because they sort of blend in with the sand. And we used the blue hyacinths as well to sort of add to that shape of the sand dune, sort of curling around the edge of the beach, which I think looks really fantastic. We also put the no lifeguard on duty sign over there. I was really originally gonna have the lifeguard stand in this build, but obviously there's no lifeguard on duty, so we ended up not using it. But you know, it could have fit. I don't know, maybe not. I feel like it was really tall. I experimented with some other objects, like I said, off camera, including the surfboards, but they were just too tall, and I wanted the main height of the build to come from the changing areas. I actually ended up substituting the surfboards that I used to have over there with the brown cruiser bike because I wanted to have some pops of brown in the build. You may have seen on my Instagram post that I did previewing this build, we have that little bag and the shoes next to the changing area that I really, really liked, and I liked having that brown motif, so I added that in the different areas as well. Right now we're working on the more I guess developed side of the beach next to my airport. We have the fence separating the beach from the road, as well as acting as an anchor for those really tall drink machines so they don't seem like they're floating. And we also threw in another cruiser bike in that adorable baby blue color to match with the drink machines, and later on with the umbrellas on our umbrella chairs, which were really fun. I'm so excited I got to use them. I really loved using the vibrant orange and the yellow. I ended up also putting a yellow car on the road outside the beach, and then of course we have the orange in the lifeguard sign, and we have the orange in the life preserver, which we're going to put on the ground where that rope coat is. I love pairing those two objects together to make it look like the life preserver is like attached to something. But yeah, I got to experiment with like fun bright oranges and yellows in this build as opposed to just blue and brown and other like neutrals, and that was really, really fun. And I really like how it turned out. But yeah, we're throwing down these over here. Like I said, this is a more developed side of the beach. So we have that blanket coat on the ground. We're gonna have some snacks. We're gonna have a magazine. We're gonna have a radio. I think I set it to play What's that song I had in Fuchsia's house? Chill Wave? Yeah, I wanted it to be another cool girl spot. I also wanted this build to sort of act as a replacement to Kiki and Coco's book club, and that's going to sort of come together on the left side of the build where we do the picnic area. I'm going to have like some books there for them to read. That area ended up being the most different from my original plan. Oh yeah, we gotta have a sock, besties. You have to have a sock on the ground. But that area ended up being the most different from my original plan, just because I experimented with some new shapes and item orientations over there, and I really like how it turned out. So you guys are gonna get to see the version 2 of that space. So this part I did fully on camera, and I'm very proud of myself that I figured it out. Speaking of figuring things out, while I figure out these blanket codes, why don't I wrap up my bug story? Because you may be wondering, like, if I'm working at my desk, if I'm in my room, does that mean that I conquered the bug? And I did not. I spent the entire night and day on the couch fretting the bug, fearing the bug, thinking about the bug. I went to Home Depot, I got bug spray. That spray only takes care of inside roaches and not outside roaches, so it was more of like it was like a psychological thing of like, if I spray, he'll leave me alone. My landlord came over and he sprayed and he sealed all of like the ducts and everything with tape, and we looked for the bug and we could not find him. So he is just loose. Okay, for my own sanity, I'm going to pretend that he left or that he died. One of those two things, that he left or he died, and not that he is wandering around my apartment like he lives here. But I did sleep in my own bed. I didn't get a lot of sleep, but I did sleep in my own bed, so, you know, maybe I did conquer my fear. Maybe I'm stronger than I think. So, you know, be proud of me in the comments. But yeah, that's my bug story. That's the conclusion. It's not a very exciting conclusion. It's a bit horror movie-esque, but, you know, it's my horror movie. You get to just enjoy it from the sidelines. You don't have to live it, so you're welcome for that entertainment. But like I said, I do really like how this build turned out. I'm not going to say that the bug forcing me to sleep on the couch and do the build off camera was a blessing in disguise, because that man was a nightmare. But I will say I did have some time to experiment, and I gave myself, you know what, this is the true moral of the story, is to not procrastinate. That's this moral of the story. If I hadn't procrastinated, I wouldn't be in this scenario, but here we are together, you and I, watching me figure out how to place a sock on the ground. I was trying to make it look like one of them had like folded their clothes up so they could go swimming, which is why I have those folded clothes over there, but I ended up replacing them with the pile of books because I just didn't like how it looked on top of the log stool. It wasn't doing it for me. So I ended up replacing it with that like tall pile of books. I think I've actually used that object before, like in their book club area. So it's very, it's very coming full circle, very fitting for Kiki and Coco that they have a little picnic on the beach where they can read, as opposed to like a King of the Hill-esque alleyway where they have like a couch and like, remember that episode where they had a couch in the alley? I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted, but they had a lot going on in the book club, and I loved the book club and I miss it a lot. But this is like, it's an ode to that, essentially. I would say that most of the items that are currently on the picnic blanket are going to be the final items. We have the boba tea, the coffee flavor, the ukulele with the, the brown, because we have like the brown motif with the bike and the little bag in the corner. I'm going to swap out the folded clothes for the books in a minute, the ones that I just placed down. But one thing that does change is that plate of muffins gets switched out for the cookie from the roost. So I imagine that they like went to the roost and they got a little snack and then they brought it out with them to the beach. But I felt like the plate of muffins, it was just like too much blue in one spot, because you have the plate and then you also have the lantern over there, and it was just not doing it for me. Because like something that I look for when I'm like making a picnic blanket is like the height of the objects as well as the color and like the shape. So it was like two round objects that are the same color right next to each other. It was just like lopsided, Does that make any sense? Like this is what I mean when I'm trying to like describe my process, but that was sort of like what I was thinking when I rearranged those objects. But for the most part, I really liked this orientation, and when I changed it, I was like, oh wow, this is perfect. Like I really like how this area turned out. I just wish I could, one thing I do wish I could add was like an extra code. Oh yeah, I remember what I did. I replaced that seagull code with the rope code to be like a rope on the beach that sort of got washed up. And that sort of helped fill out the space a little bit more and make it feel more full, if that makes sense. I just said full twice. But that, you know what, it was the best explanation that I could come out with in this moment. So you're all gonna just have to deal with that. Oh, I also put a decoy duck over here. I was going back and forth if I wanted to have 2 ducks or 1 duck, like a single duck, and I decided that the duck is going to be single and alone. So sorry to that man, but you're alone, bestie. I ended up switching it out though with the mallard coloration, I think is the right one. I don't know enough about ducks to tell you if that's right or not. You'll have to figure it out. But I wanted to carry in the brown and the green coloration, which is why I swapped out the duck. And in a minute, we're going to continue on with the wheat fields to create the sand dune. We're gonna, I threw in this anchor statue. I really wanted to use this somewhere on my island because it like fits the theme so perfectly. Like that's a statue that I would see like in my hometown. I wouldn't be surprised if that statue, I've seen like a real one that looks exactly like that before. So I thought it would be cute if I like hid it in the sand dune. Like it had like been put on the beach a long time ago, but people had sort of forgotten about it and had sort of like the seagrass has sort of like grown around it. Here I am working on Kiki's fishing spot. I originally had this like farther to the right, like near where the changing rooms are, but I ended up moving it a little bit just so it's out of the way. And just because that area felt a little claustrophobic, a little bit too cluttered. You guys know I'm a bit of a maximalist. I love some clutter, but it was just a little bit too cluttered, especially for a beach. So I wanted it to be traversable. That was one thing about this beach. I wanted it to be traversable both for anyone visiting my GA, anyone like my villagers coming to visit the beach. They were so cute while I was building this. There were so many villagers when I was initially building this, like sitting on my couch. It's like they knew that I was struggling because of the bug and they wanted to come help me. But they were all visiting while I was building. It was really, really fun. But most importantly, I needed to be accessible for me when I want to fish because I love to fish in this game and I need to be able to get to my beaches. So that was essentially the thought process. I also threw down these horseshoe crabs, which I have on my beach on the other side of my airport on the right side. So I thought it would be nice to tie those spaces in together. Here we are sort of hiding the anchor statue amongst the sand dunes. Speaking of tying spaces together, doing this build really made me want to go back and work on some neighborhoods that I've already worked on. I've actually been feeling this way for a little bit now. I thought about it when I was doing Fuchsia's house a lot because I really need to renovate the neighborhood that she, Pecan, and Butch live in. So I want to do a little bit of like a neighborhood refresh for each area. I have some ideas for Kiki and Coco's neighborhood as well as like Marshall and Genji behind them. I want to make sure that all of my beaches in particular sort of match each other in a way, and so they have like things in common. So I'm gonna like go back and like adjust little things about my other beaches to sort of make them feel like they're all cohesive. But for the most part, they are pretty cohesive. It's just that, you know, I built them so many months apart, so there are going to be sort of differences in how I do things. Like me from January is building something a little differently than me right now. But for the most part, they sort of feel the same, especially because of the wheat fields. The wheat fields are sort of tying everything together because we have that sand dune theme, keeping everything cohesive. I use cohesive twice. See, once again, this is the best explanation you're gonna get. I don't know, besties. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. But be on the lookout. I'm probably going to do one of those neighborhood builds very soon, maybe for Saturday's video, because I am procrastinating on doing a really big build that once again involves a lot of wheat fields, and I am still dumb and don't understand how treasure islands work. So that is part of why I've been procrastinating on it, because I need to order so many wheat fields in order to get it done. So that'll come eventually, but for now, I think maybe we'll do a little bit of a neighborhood refresh. So be on the lookout for that on Saturday. But I think we are about to come to the end of the build. I was trying to add those shoes, but like I said, it was just a little too claustrophobic and I needed to be able to traverse that area. I'm using a lot of big words right now. Traverse, cohesive. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, but don't listen to me. But look at the cute ducks. The ducks are very cute, but he's about to be single, unfortunately, so sorry to that man. But I liked the colors. I like, you know, we're tying in the browns and the greens and everything, and it's a very colorful, bright, vibrant build. Here I am switching out the little snack. I ended up going with the roost cookie, like I said. And then I'm just checking out the view. The view with the sand dunes and Kiki's restaurant and the lighthouse in the back is just so quintessential New England. It's perfect. I'm obsessed. And here we are at the end of the build. Thank you all so much for watching another episode of Beach Decorating 101. Like I said, I know this episode was a little bit unorthodox because of the bug, but I'm really proud of how this build turned out, and I hope that you enjoyed it as well. Like I said, I'm obsessed with the views and the vibes, and it really is quintessential New England beach. I hope you got something out of this build. I hope you've been inspired to work on your own beach. Leave a comment letting me know like what your island theme is and what your ideas for your beaches are. I'm very curious. I love when people talk about their islands in the comments. It's really fun to read through them. If you really liked this video, if you're obsessed with this beach as I am, make sure to leave a like. It really helps me out. If you're really obsessed, you can subscribe and hit the little bell to be notified every time that I post. I upload on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I'm, like I said, working on my New England towncore themed island. I also stream over here on YouTube. I try to stream once a week, so be on the lookout for that. You can be notified either here through the bell, through my Discord, which is linked in the description, or through my Instagram, which is also linked in the description. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all again on Saturday. Bye!